Well, let's start, though, with that Japanese trade deal. Japan signed a trade deal with the US which caps its tariffs at 15%. Separately, the US inferred it will also do a deal with the Philippines with a 19% tariff.
But I just signed the largest trade deal in history, I think maybe the largest deal in history, with Japan. And that was done with Japan. They had their top people here, and we worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody.
Now, that deal immediately boosted the Japanese stock market, but it's car makers in particular who otherwise would have been effectively priced out of the American car market. Have a look at this. I want to show you some of these. Mazda shares up 17.7% today. Subaru shares up more than 16%. They're still trading. Toyota shares up more than 14%. Mitsubishi up almost 12 2/3%. And Honda up 10.5%. They were the best performing shares in the whole Japanese stock market today. The key index, the Nikkei 225, it's up by 3.5%. That's one of its best days in decades. Donald Trump also indicated that a trade deal with Europe is likely tomorrow, with others into the future. So let's go live to our Asian correspondent, Stash Butler, who is in Taipei. Stash, look, will other nations now take a lead from Japan and try and rapidly cut a deal with Donald Trump, do you think?
Well, Ross, I think that's certainly what a lot of people around here are hoping for. I think the answer to your question lies, if you look at the shares of the car company Hyundai in South Korea, they've also risen by 7.5%. So it's clear that with this announcement of the deal with Japan, South Koreans are looking at what's happened and thinking perhaps they can get a similar deal too. They're also facing a tariff arrangement of 25%. If a deal isn't struck by August the 1st. Meanwhile, here in Taiwan, I think people will be looking at that deal as well, hoping something could be struck. Taiwan's facing a tariff of 32% if a deal cannot be reached. I think it's worth pointing out, as you did, that the deal with Japan involves an investment, a Japanese investment of what Donald Trump says is $550 billion from Japan into the US. Japan is saying that it hasn't actually reduced any of the existing tariff barriers for US goods going into Japan. So they're seeing this as a kind of investment for tariff reduction deal. From Taiwan's perspective, I think you might think there's a bit of a shame because TSMC, Taiwan's biggest company by far, has already announced $100 billion of new investment back in March, I think it was, into the US. But still, Taiwan is stuck with this looming rate of 32%. So, in a sense, that investment for tariff reduction kind of arrangement might be off the cards. But certainly a lot of people around this area, around this region, looking at what Japan has struck here and hoping that they can do the same.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because some of those countries most affected are going to be China. That's the key one. And Trump now says he wants to go and visit Xi Jinping. Then you've also got, quite clearly, Vietnam, which is a massive steel exporter to the United States and was going to be hit with big tariffs. They're cutting a deal. So there's all sorts of deals individually going on which go straight back to the US president.
That's right, and it's worth pointing out also, just before this Japan deal, we were leading today with the deal that Donald Trump had struck with the Philippines, that they'd cut the tariff on Philippine goods going to the US from 20% down to 19%, which is not a huge reduction, you have to say. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. going home and having to defend the size of that reduction, but nonetheless, I think he'll be broadly pleased. I think the Vietnam tariff stands at 20% as we speak. Yep. Indonesia's also at 19%. So looking at a similar kind of rate, so not being at a competitive disadvantage there.
Indeed as well. Stash Butler in Taipei, many thanks for your time.